Hello, everyone. Anina back for a little world update on Vivid Earth. How's everyone doing? How's your week been? We are entering the full moon today as we speak. The micro full moon, as it's called. Why? Because everything it gets put under a microscope today. That's my sort of analogy, anyway. Micro moon is smaller, furthest away from the Earth. So, kind of the opposite of a supermoon. But the thing is that this micromoon likes to hone in on specific areas, will make you look at something very specific in your life that needs to be looked at. Now, this full moon is in Libra. So, yeah, think about relationships, think about the balance between peace and harmony and war and chaos. Think about justice. These are the things that Libra stands for, right? And for me, justice really rings true because I think we're all looking for justice. And although we know justice have been served, we want to see that in the public eye. So we've had obviously, some frustrations along the way because things seem to be delayed in terms of the massive disclosure that we're looking for. Well, I've just heard that more files have been released, the RFK senior files, as well as the MLK files. So watch the space. Things are going to be revealed one step at a time in bite-sized chunks, as I've said before, because this big reveal is not really for us, it's for the sleepers, right? And we often lose perspective on how much cushioning they still need because we've got to ensure a certain equilibrium in on this planet, and Libra is all about equilibrium, by the way. But we can't just let the earth be dumped into chaos when people find out all these shocking truths. That's why it's coming out bit by bit to almost desensitize them to some of these very shocking topics and information that'll be coming to the fore. So yeah, things are moving, that's for sure. And April is definitely not going to be going past without some shocking revelations and big reveals. You just have to look at the financial markets to understand something really is brewing. I mean, there's really, really something brewing. You've got to be blind not to see that. The stock market has done all sorts of moves and counter moves this week. We've seen the stock market lose, I think, 4 trillion in one day. And in the next day, Trump announced it's a good time to invest, I think at 9 o'clock in the morning. And by 12 o'clock that day, they put a 90-day pause on the tariffs. And then the stock market shot up. It literally gained like 5 trillion in 10 minutes, something like that. Don't know the exact numbers, but that's kind of from memory that I recall. Uh, so that's massive. So what's going on, guys? What's going on? Well, swamp is being drained. Think about those nefarious organizations that have been benefiting unduly, uh, from stock market trade, insider trading, pump and dump schemes, you name it, shorting the markets, all these artificial things that we've kind of normalized over time, right? I'm thinking what comes to mind is like BlackRock and State Street and what's the other one? Vanguard. These big corporations own just about everything in the world that's worth owning, or at least a large chunk of these corporations. We know most of the media are owned by these three organizations, and we're talking about mainstream media, obviously. So the thing is, they pretty much own the governments as well. And we kind of know that. I'm speaking to the converted here, so I know you guys know that. But so there's a lot of things going on in the background that we're not privy to, but suffice to say, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not playing around, they're not experimenting, they're not trying this and then trying that. This is a very carefully crafted strategy and military grade operation that is now being executed. And there are no accidents. Okay. Of course, they look at the algorithms. When I say the algorithms, they look at the emotional reactions worldwide when certain things happen, and they measure those in increments. And that's why also things are happening slowly but surely, because you've got to constantly check what is the consciousness level of the planet looking out like right now. And for this, they use quantum technology. It's not just your average computer generated algorithm. These are very advanced quantum technology that can calculate things in a few seconds that traditional computers would probably take, I don't know, weeks to do. So things are happening. So I hope you're using this time wisely, though, to educate yourself, to grow yourself, to go within, to get rid of baggage, to experimenting with your gifts and doing all these things, because this is the time for that. It's not a wait and see time. I really get actually quite upset when people say, well, we're just waiting for this to happen. We're waiting for the RV. We're waiting for, the tribunals. We're waiting for the arrests. We're waiting for this and waiting that. Well, that's not none of your business. Get on with what is your business, which is the things that you can control within you. Because our first and foremost purpose on this planet is to evolve our own consciousness, because we are, as a planet, we will be ascending. And the more of you and more of us do our work, the better state the planet is in, and the better, it's like the 100 monkey effect. So we're kind of doing it for the collective to a certain extent as well. So we are the front runners. We chose that role. We took on the baton. We agreed to be at this time and to be some of the first that will be awakening for a reason. Firstly, because we can do it, because we are pretty tough souls. We are also old souls. So we kind of have done this before, and we may not remember that consciously, but subconsciously it feels familiar. It feels like we know what to do. It feels like, okay, we know how this is going to work out. And the more we work on our own discernment, switching on our own intuition, developing our own psychic skills, telepathy, all these things, the better it is for the whole planet, never mind you. Because imagine now you wake up in a year and you say, well, I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, but what have I been doing? I've been wasting my time. I've been sitting on the couch with a box of popcorn, and I've wasted all this time. I could have been an advanced soul by now. Instead, I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for other people to do it. Never mind the fact that we actually create this reality in the first place, which I keep telling you guys, I'm sure you know as well. So, many people, even in the awakened community, still think things are being done to us and for us and not through us. And it does happen through us. We are the ones that are manifesting this new earth into reality. It's like it's really up to us, because if we keep living in lack and have not, and waiting and anticipating and fight and flight and all these things, we're just going to get more of that, more waiting, and more lack. And so I don't know about you, but that's not what I want. So I'm creating, and I'm just feeling a beautiful window has opened for manifesting whatever your heart's desire. And I'm not talking about your ego here, I'm talking about your soul's desire, because our ego often wants very different things that are not really things that can even benefit us and is even good for us, for that matter. Okay, so put your ego in the back seat. You as a soul, take the driver's seat, and drive your own evolution forward. Create your own reality as you go along. Because every time you're in lack, every time you're in disappointment, every time you're in doubt, every time you're in waiting mode, you're just getting more of that. The universe doesn't judge. It listens to your vibration. It gives you things that match that vibration. Okay, so I've started, really playing with flipping the script, and I've just been on quite a high, and I'm just perpetuating, creating more and more of that. And it doesn't mean, that sometimes we have to go into the mini dark night of the soul. We have to kind of dive down and look our shadows in the face. That'll still happen. It's still going to go through that for quite some time, until we all sort of ascended masters, if you will. So that's not going to stop right now. But we can do so much to create this heaven on earth right now because it's available. It's there. It's up to us to anchor it in. It's up to us to have the resonance to bring it into our field and our reality. So you can play with that field. You can send it the signals of the things that you want: peace, harmony, abundance, joy, love. You know, all of these things that we all want. Do we want it or do we feel it? Can we feel it? Can we visualize this new earth every day? Wake up and think, what aspect of new earth can I start visualizing today? What's it going to be like? What is nature going to be like? How is the earth going to feel when it's healed, when it's in resonance, when there's harmony across the planet, when there's peace, when there's abundance, there's no lack, there's no fear, there's no fight or flight, there's no competition, there's no nefarious technology. There's all these new technologies that we can bring in to enhance our life without giving our power away to it. Because remember, the most powerful technology is the one that you hold inside, the organic human technology. And it is quite phenomenal. I mean, it is mind-blowing to think about how your body functions and all of the trillions of cells that are, by the way, working together as a team to run your body. Each know what it has to do on its own, but as a team, it also knows how to interact and work together in harmony, in perfect rhythm. So it's like the microcosm and the macrocosm is kind of a mirror. It's the same thing. And that also happens, you know, throughout the universe. So it just like multiplies from the tiniest little cell to the biggest multiverse you can imagine. It's the same process. It's the same sacred geometry that makes up all of that. It's the same stardust. It's just how you're going to transform that stardust into something powerful or something in disharmony. And so it's very important for us to work together as communities and as a collective to make this reality really a reality. And you know, in my roundtable with Sarge from Icons and the other icons he had in this call, which was broadcast Thursday night. So you can go and check that out on Icons channel on Rumble. I think the channel is called Icons 2020. We spoke about that, and somebody played the video that Greg Braden did, which I actually watched a couple of years ago, which was about this hospital in, it was in China or Tibet. It was either in a very remote area in China or Tibet, but they had these monks basically pray over this one woman. I say pray, it's not really pray, chant, but you know, it's kind of, at the end of the day, kind of the same thing, right? So she had a massive tumor in her belly, and it was quite a number of years ago, before the, you know, advanced sonar technology was there. They were doing the sonar on her stomach, but they weren't recording it at that point. The equipment didn't have that functionality. So it just showed a live picture of her belly and the tumor. And they had, I think, 3 monks that were chanting over her, "You are already healed, you are already healed, you are already healed." And she herself was imagining that as well. They all fully believe that. You cannot doubt that, because doubt is not what's going to bring in that manifestation. And they literally, so they were videoing the sonar, first of all, because it wasn't a live recording as such. So another videographer was filming this whole scene and zooming in on the equipment, which is still that, you know, very black and white sort of sonar. And live, they could see live the tumor shrinking literally in minutes, and it was gone. It was gone. And that is quantum healing. And we all have that ability, and not just for healing though. We can do that, we can heal ourselves, but not just for healing. It's for manifesting anything. Like, that's how we bring into our reality things, by fully believing it, thinking it, feeling it, believing it, like it's already done. That's how we anchor in new earth. But you can't do that unless you start thinking about what does this new earth look like. And, as a collective, if enough of us are thinking the same things, that is what's going to be anchoring in for the collective. So we have our own reality, but we also have a collective reality. So, we have our own little bubble, our little world where we can manifest whatever we want, but there are some global aspects to our reality as well that we as a group or as a collective would be anchoring in. So, for years and years and years, the cabal and the nefarious players, the Satanists, have literally given us little nuggets of what they wanted us to manifest for them, because they can't manifest. They're not creator beings. We are, the God spark, the creator beings. And so they would give us something like, there's going to be a massive pole shift and everyone's going to die. Like the earth is not going to survive. Like this is like inevitable. So they just put something out there, whether it is somebody that was working for the CIA pretending to work for the light that puts that out on a video on YouTube, whether it is a documentary or a fictional movie you're watching. Think about all the end of the world movies that has come out over the last few years. And that has just kind of programmed us into thinking that is inevitable. So when we believe that, when we fear that reality, guess what? We're actually creating it in every moment. Every time we watch something like that, every time we think about it, every time you imagine it, immediately your brain goes into creation mode, because now you're thinking, somebody tells you there's going to be a cataclysm, the tectonic plates are going to shift, the continents are going to split up, and there's going to be huge tsunamis, and half of the Earth's population, or 3/4 will die. Like somebody tells you that, you can see it in your mind's eye, right? You're starting to put the pictures together in your mind's eye. Now you are starting to, or help manifest that. Obviously, with such big events, they require masses of people doing that together. That's why a lot of these people, they give them big followings. They program the algorithms in such a way on YouTube, for example, that a lot of people will see the video. So be very careful what you watch. Be very careful what you give your attention to, what you put your focus on, because those are the beginnings of a manifestation. And is that what you want to manifest? Do you still believe that these things are happening to you? Or are we the creator beings that actually anchor that into the reality? That's right. We are the ones. And that's why all the predictive programming, all the music that they put out there, the movies, why Hollywood was controlled by the CIA from the get-go. They actually created that group. Okay. I'm going to just not say these words too often because I don't want to get flagged, but you know what I mean. All of these things have been controlled, infiltrated, and put out there from the very beginning. Bands that were created out of thin air to program us, to put us under a black magic spell, to basically do all of these sacrificial, symbolic spells and spell castings on stage in music videos. Because now you want more of that. All the delusion of, what we see going on with, alcohol abuse and the porn industry. That is a big one. They control that whole industry because they know if they can pervert humanity's natural, what is the word? Natural state. And they can get people addicted to things like porn, alcohol, whatever it is, low vibrational music, drugs, all of these things that are killing the soul, like literally killing your soul by providing loosh for them in their loosh farm. So, just be very discerning, be very careful. I've started cutting out any negative news whatsoever. I don't look at anything that has a clickbait title. I'm just not interested, okay? Doom and gloom, urgent, warning. If those things are in the titles, just, keep scrolling. Just do not engage. Like literally do not engage. So we have to start learning now, really learning what our own purpose, role, and abilities are in this, false matrix. And Start mastering the mind. Literally start mastering our own minds. That is what you can do during this time. Instead of waiting, go and do something powerful, learn a new skill, learn how to do Qigong, Tai Chi. It's incredible for learning to work with energy in your own body, because you first have to, control what's very close to you before you can start having an influence on the things that are further away from you. You can't influence those things if you haven't gotten control over your own body, of your own body, mind, soul connection. Okay, that's the first thing that needs to be addressed. Once you're at a more advanced stage, you kind of got a grip on it, then you can go out and affect others, work on Earth's grid, or, maybe go and work on storms or fires, help dissipate that, because we do have that ability. Obviously, it doesn't come overnight. It comes also with huge responsibility, So stop blaming others, stop playing the victim, because the sooner you take responsibility for your own life and everything that happens within your own world, the sooner you can actually be sovereign. And the sooner you're sovereign, the sooner you can start making a difference in this world. You cannot make a difference in this world if you're not sovereign. You're still the victim. You're just putting more of that victim mentality out there. So, let's stop focusing and blaming the cabal. It happened, okay? We're rising above this, and we're creating a beautiful new heaven on earth. And because that's the power we have, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. Whatever we put our attention on will multiply. So remember that. Now, this was supposed to be a huge Intel update, but I just gave you a lesson in creation instead. But yeah, maybe I can share a couple of memes or a couple of quotes. A grand shift is upon us. To be not distracted with low vibrations. Stay focused. Be in your heart. Vibrate higher now. Isn't that great advice? Great advice indeed. Only to the extent that you expand your consciousness are you open and to receive the new all around you, and can tune into new thoughts, new ideas, and a new way of life. If you're tired of the same old, and the same old patterns and the same things happening to you, the same relationship patterns, the same people doing this to you, doing that to you, and it keeps happening, flip the script. It's time to flip the script. You can't open to new ways and new ways of being if you don't leave the old behind. So stop paying any attention, stop being a victim, and change your reality, because you can. Be prepared to look beyond the immediate into higher dimensions, higher realms, and open yourself to the ways of the spirit. There's much you can intuitively understand and accept that lies beyond the intellect. And that's so important, because we try and figure everything out with the mind, with the intellect. And the intellect is limited, my friend. Soon, the whole intellectual way of looking at things will be like down there. It'll be a very low dimensional way of looking. So the sensing, the being, the intuition, the creative side, that's actually our real power. And they always told you, oh no, that's a waste of time, that's for weak people, that's for woo-woo artists that haven't achieved anything in life. Well, it's actually the opposite, and they've inverted everything. So so why waste time trying to grasp everything with your mind? Why not live and become active intuitively and follow your intuition? When you do, you become active from a heightened state of consciousness and are receptive to the new. You become a pure channel, and through which the new can unfold. Therefore, raise your consciousness from the negative to the positive, from the destructive to the constructive, from darkness to light, from the old to the new, and see what happens. You will see the old fall away and the glorious new revealed. And that kind of just sums up actually what I've been saying. That's by a lady called Eileen Caddy. Okay, so all of these things are coming much more into focus now, as we sort of progress and grow in this truth movement. These are the things that are becoming important now, because you can only go so far with your intellect. And if you haven't developed other skills, well, you're going to be limited in your outlook and your understanding of things. So you can, if you only have your intellect to understand or understand something, it's going to be a limited perception of that situation. Only once you've started switching on your intuition can you get a broader perspective on things, a perspective that other people won't be able to see, those that require scientific explanations for everything. And they want you to provide white papers to prove what you say is true. Well, they're always going to be limited with their perspective because they're just not open to beyond. And in any event, science is magic. Magic is science. It's just that the scientists have suppressed the real breakthrough science. They do not receive funding for that, so they do not focus on that for a reason. So what's happening? Maybe we can do a little bit of a RV update. So receive this information from Ariel, which makes a lot of sense. As we know, the Iraqi dinar is what's going to be the first domino to drop with the RV, or the global currency reset or revaluation, sorry. So apparently in Iraq, there was a Supreme Court ruling, which was a financial liberation milestone. And that happened on April 10th, which was this past Thursday. The Iraqi Federal Supreme Court issued a landmark ruling that obliterates financial barriers for the Kurdistan region, mandating uninterrupted salary payments to KRI employees directly from the Federal Ministry of Finance, a decision that secures the release of the 2025 budget without delays. This ruling, initiated by the President of the Republic, enforces a continuous payment mechanism, stripping away excuses like technical issues or trial balances, because they've been delaying things for quite some time now, and ensures coordination between the Federal Ministry and KRG's Ministry of Finance to align with Central Bank of Iraq settlement protocols, even allowing employees to choose their preferred banks. For dinar holders, this is a seismic shift. The court's order to amend Article 12, Paragraph C for the 2023 budget law, which forces KRG to contribute oil revenues to the federal treasury, signaling a unified fiscal structure that could stabilize the dinar's value, potentially paving the way for a 1-to-1 or a 3-to-1 or higher exchange rate, and that's to the US dollar, by ensuring Iraq's economic cohesion. Budget ratification, the trigger for the RV or the activation. The Supreme Court's decision, coupled with late March 2025 progress on salary disbursements, indicates the 2025 budget was likely ratified between March 25th and April 5th, setting the stage for an imminent reinstatement of the Iraqi dinar, projected to activate between April 15th and May 31st, 2025. We are here, guys, with a slight chance of extending to early June if ratified lag to early April. This timeline is critical because the court's removal of salary payment obstacles eliminates a key bottleneck that has historically suppressed Iraq's financial reforms, allowing the budget to flow freely and fund economic restructuring vital for a currency reset. Dinar holders should see this as a green light, a ratified budget. There's that pesky green light again, backed by judicial muscle, which means Iraq is operationally ready to revalue its currency, potentially delivering the long-awaited 1-to-1 or 3-to-1 rate as a global confidence in Iraq's fiscal stability surges. CBI International Card Rules, a global financial re-entry. So on April 8th, the Central Bank of Iraq rolled out new regulations for international bank card usage, a move that positions Iraq as a re-emerging player in global finance, effective immediately with a 30-day activation delay for new cards, setting transaction limits like $10,000 a month for retirees, $20,000 a month for travel, and $50,000 a month for medical treatments abroad. The CBI, which is Central Bank of Iraq's directive targeting banks, non-banking financial institutions, and electronic payment firms, ensures compliance across Iraq's financial ecosystem with which ensures compliance across Iraq's financial ecosystem with foreign currency available at the official rate via an e-governance system, a clear signal of currency stabilization efforts. For dinar holders, this is electrifying. International transaction limits and official rate access suggest the CBI is preparing for a stronger dinar, likely aligning with a 1-to-1 or 3-to-1 or higher exchange rate to facilitate seamless global trade and boost investor trust in Iraq's economy. The strategic implications, why this changes everything. The convergence of the Supreme Court's ruling and CBI's international card rules marks a pivotal moment for Iraq's economic sovereignty, directly impacting dinar holders by accelerating the RV timeline. Mid-April to late May 2025 is now a high probability window for activation, driven by the court's enforcement of fiscal unity and the CBI's global financial integration. The court's mandate to integrate KRG oil revenues into the federal budget ensures a revenue stream that can back a revalued dinar. While the CBI's structured limits on international transactions, for example, $20,000 a month for merchants, demonstrate Iraq's readiness to handle increased currency demand without inflation spikes. So it's very complex, these things. You don't just reset it in that. It's got a complete sort of domino effect to everything else in the country and other countries. So there's a lot of boxes to tick before you can be ready with a revaluation like that. But it pretty much sounds like they've now ticked all the boxes. So things are moving in a very big way. Okay, what else can I cover? In other news, the father of Iranian genetic research dies at 95. Some people say that they effectively killed the brain. Now they erase the body. Akbar Itamat, the father of Iran's nuclear program, dies quietly in Paris. 2 US aircraft carriers show up at Iran's doorstep. Stealth bombers launched to Diego Garcia. Patriot missiles redeployed from the Pacific. But this isn't about deterrence. This is the cleanup crew. This isn't war. The war's already happened behind the scenes. The scientists were flipped. The program were exposed. The intel was extracted. Now we're just watching the controlled demolition of the physical infrastructure. Itamad's death isn't random. It's the closing of a chapter. You don't wipe out a regime's nuclear future while its architect still breathes. You pull the roots, then you burn the bunker. So no, the ships aren't arriving to start a war. They're here to erase what's already been neutralized. Just like Ukraine's biolabs, just like Gaza's tunnel systems, just like the gold that's no longer in Switzerland. The firepower is just for show. The real war's already over. And the world's only seen now the smoke. I keep telling you guys, we're watching a movie. Everything that is announced right now has already happened. It's nothing that has not happened already. And then, in other news, the White Hats have detained Colonel Susanna Meyers, who was relieved of command of her position in charge of Space Force Base Pitufik in Greenland. Okay, we don't have much info at this time, but we've been told her detainment has nothing to do with the criticizing Barnes' visit. So we'll watch that space and see what's happening. And then apparently, just in, Epstein's underground systematic child abuse base. Submarines that are trafficking, yes, and that's why Ghislaine Maxwell had a submarine license. And then also what they did is they used the ashes from burning the remains and turned them into diamonds. Yes. It's all one sick plan that's being exposed, which has to come to light. And then we also saw something about Siemens and their submarines. So basically, let me just get to the first part of this so I can give it to you guys coherently, which I can't find right now. But anyway, so Escobar has since been identified as the global CEO of rail infrastructure at Siemens Mobility, while his wife was a global commercialization manager at Siemens Energy, according to a LinkedIn profile. She was the granddaughter of Auguste Montal Costa, a former president of FC Barcelona Soccer Club. You know, those guys are all squeaky clean, aren't they? So they've also been, Siemens also been supplying a whole generation of unmanned undersea vehicles to the Navy. So yeah, all of these things are starting to be exposed bit by bit. Bit by bit. I think we saw another plane crash in Florida, in Boca Raton. That killed 3 people. It basically crashed on a highway. There was a helicopter crash as well. A few days ago, I think I heard that Trump had to vacate one of his helicopters as well. Something is definitely brewing, guys. Something is brewing. And then, of course, we have the UK just announced, and it's not their first time actually, but this time it looks a little bit more urgent. UK households urged to stockpile 9 items as soon as possible, including radios. EBS coming to the UK? Possibly. Yeah, so things are happening so fast that, we tend to miss a lot of news, but you've really got to have your eyes on everything to understand how this global military exposure plan is unfolding. And then, of course, after all the tariff wars and that's been going on this past week, the one between China and the US is still underway. And I expect something to drop soon that's going to force China to capitulate. Also, most likely tomorrow, I'll be putting up a video, an interview with a very, very gifted and strategic remote viewer, actually from South Africa, Rob Mercury, and he works very closely with a global group of remote viewers that have been working on certain military targets, including also communication, believe it or not, with Q. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Don't miss that one. And he told me a very interesting story about the Red Dragon triad in China, and actually, in the Far East. So there's a lot of things that will make sense once you listen to that. I don't want to repeat what he said. I'd rather you wait and hear it from the horse's mouth. And that particular segment is towards the end of the video. So watch till the end. It gets really good. So I just think people with their, China has done this, China has done that. You have to differentiate between different factions within China. The CCP is the one that was created by the Khazarian mafia many, many decades ago for them to be able to control China and their resources. And because they've got so many people, imagine all those birth certificates, how much money they created by just going onto the beast system decades ago, which meant all birth certificates were bonded and traded ultimately by the Vatican, going to the Vatican. Huge amount of money were created. Like, we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions. So, they've created such a monster. It's not so easy to remove, but I believe it's already done. but it's very interesting to get the perspective of the Red Dragon triad or families, and that initially was created by the poor people to fight this elitist war being forced upon them, to keep them poor, sick, and in dire straits. And that's where it actually came from. But that's as much as I'm going to reveal. You can go and watch that video. Just make sure you subscribe, then you select the bell icon for all notifications, and then you'll get that as soon as it drops tomorrow. So ultimately you've got to clean up worldwide. You can't just clean up the West and then the East is still controlled by the Khazarian mafia. So all of these countries have to be drained from the swamp, and you've got to reunite West and East, because all this division and artificial division was put in place for a reason. And this is the time where we want to go into Jasara and Nasara. We have to ensure peace on earth, the entire planet. So there cannot be any country left out. There cannot be any swampy swamps left. You've got to remove all of it, because as like rot, it grows, or like mold, it just grows back. So you've got to eradicate all of it. You've got to do a complete fumigation of the planet, so to speak, to get rid of all the parasites. And then you can start clean, then you can start fresh, then you can implement Jasara, Nisara, get rid of all debt, redistribute the wealth to the meek. And that's how it's done. But it's a huge task, guys. It is a huge task. Okay. And speaking about huge, the banks seem to be in huge trouble right now. So, as of January 2025, a lot of these banks, silver short contracts, are in big trouble. On March 14th, the shorts were 24 million plus. There's a million plus contract. Today, April 9th, that was a few days ago, up another 8 million to 32 million short contracts. That's dangerous. So with the start of April, they crashed silver $5, yet their short position increased 8 million contracts. The banks are in huge trouble, because most are also still not in compliance with Basel 3 and 4, because they thought they could control all of this, but that's just going to lead to an implosion. That's all it is. There's a graph that I shared on Telegram, so it was shared yesterday. So if you're not yet on there, please make sure you subscribe, because that's all good stuff gets shared on a daily basis, and so much news. It will give you a complete picture of what's going on in the world, plus all of the consciousness, knowledge and inspiration, so that you can also do your own personal work, because it has to be balanced. It's fun to watch all of this. We want to know what's going on, but it's got to absolutely be balanced with spiritual endeavors, because that's where the real juice lies, right? Google is cutting hundreds of jobs as well, specifically in the Android and Chrome division. We know why it's named Chrome, right? Chrome is their web browser, and apparently one of the other products is called Adreno. So you go figure. That is just like a very, very dark organization. I don't know what they're going to do with it, whether they're going to keep it or they're going to get rid of it. Personally, I would want to get rid of it, but it's so intertwined with our daily life at this point. Just think about Gmail and how, it's intertwined with everything else, and with YouTube attached to it, it's not that easy. But we'll see. And then we got a post from Dr. Russell McGregor saying, this so-called tariff war is kabuki theater. Everything was negotiated back in November 2017 at the forbidden city in Beijing. So you see how the Far East is a very strategic part of this. You're witnessing a scheduled rollout to implement a new, mutually beneficial, sound, balanced, and technologically innovative financial system. And Trump this week told the American people to stay calm and confident, assuring them that everything will work out and promising the country will come back stronger and greater than ever. If you read between the lines, he is saying to you there is going to be some short-term pain, but it's going to be ultimately for long-term gain for everyone. As far as stock markets go, I think just about 8% of Americans are invested in the stock market. Typically, it would be your sort of upper middle class and elites that are invested in the stock market. So, hey, at least the poor people won't be affected if the stock market crashes, you know, ultimately. So it's a short-term thing, and ultimately, you know, certain things have to be done to bring in permanent changes to the whole financial system. It doesn't happen by itself. Even our friend SG Anon is of the opinion, as many of you are as well, that President Xi and President Trump are openly cooperating with one another in broad daylight to destroy the Western central bank's control over economic markets inside the Eurozone and Africa. So you're seeing a lot of posturing going on. It's kabuki theater, guys. Just hang in there. Don't react. Don't, you know, just stay calm. Because division is not how we do this. We have to somehow find the common ground, unite, and create this new reality collectively, instead of just all being divided into our little groups and not really making a sizable impact on the collective reality at large. So that is very, very important. Let's see if this debt clock is very interesting. It still spoke about the USA income tax savings per year, which at the moment is, how many digits is that? I think it's trillions. It might be more. So the savings per taxpayer at this stage is $23,000. Hello. And then the USA Treasury dollars per year is also 1.6 trillion. That means 14,000 US dollars per taxpayer. US tariff tax revenue per year is looking at something like 659 billion. That is $5,800 per revenue per taxpayer. Yeah, per year. And then the gold card Visa revenue per year, 152 billion. And that is $1,350 per taxpayer. That's huge. And then it talks about defying a bankless future. The US federal interest savings per year will be 1 trillion odd. So the saving per taxpayer is $9,000 per year. Sounds a lot like Jasara Nasara to me. The total US interest savings per year is just over 4 billion. So the savings per taxpayer is 38,000. Things are looking interesting, to say the very least. If you know, you know. If you know, you are very excited about what's to come. We're all very excited what's to come. And this week as well, I'll just end with this. Don't forget, we've got this full moon, micromoon today. And apparently just before, there's been a 3-hour blackout, another 3-hour blackout on the Schumann resonance, which basically means the energy flooding our planet and collectively being created is off the charts. So this is a clear energetic prelude as we shift into the high frequency current of the pink full moon in Libra. The celestial moment is a signal flare marking the next threshold of rapid transformation. The matrix is destabilizing, the illusion is thinning, cracks are forming in the fabricated order, and we can see that, right? Yeah, there's just so much going on at the moment. The whole financial system is unraveling in real time. The Fed is being dismantled slowly but surely. We know it's already done, but in the public eye. So all of these things are going on. But as the pink micromoon rises, its energy will amplify from within Libra. The air sign ruled by Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, and harmony. So astrologically, it offers a gateway for deep reflection on balance within relationships, communities, and the self. It's a moment to recalibrate your inner scales, to confront unresolved tensions, to release outdated relational patterns, and to step forward with renewed emotional clarity. This moon also holds spiritual significance as the partial full moon, the first full moon after the March equinox, determining the date of Easter. It's a universal reminder of rebirth, resurrection, and the sacred cycles of renewal. Amid external chaos, it invites you into the internal sanctuary, where peace, justice, and self-love are waiting to be reclaimed. The ether is highly charged right now, potent with chaotic beauty, volatility, and raw creative energy. Don't get swept into the fierce storms of the collective. Use this frequency instead to activate your higher faculties. Channel it into writing, music, movement, or any expression that allows your soul to speak. Engage in meditation to release what no longer serves you. Call your powers back. This is a divine moment to clear karmic residue and step fully into your mission. Reconnect with earth, reground into source. Your prayers are needed. They are powerful threads woven into the collective grid of healing and ascension. Every small act can become a sacred one when done with intention. And your physical vessel is that sacred technology, the organic temple designed to redefine divine light. I'm not going to read all of this. So just ends with saying, we are not to whine about the storm. We're here to ride it, to anchor light, to embody calm, to birth a new world. Breathe deep, stand tall, walk as the still point in the chaos. Isn't that beautiful? So I hope you'll take that with you and implement it and use that to reflect on as the full moon rises, so we can multiply this energy and truly anchor in that light, this beautiful portal. Remember, it's the end of the eclipse season officially now as well, although these energies are still lingering. Things are going to get much smoother, much more beautiful, and so use that energy wisely. You know, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time to be alive. It's a beautiful time to create, and I want to encourage you to keep experimenting with your creative powers, and it will multiply, I promise. So anyway, I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. I'm sending you much love. And don't forget the Rob Mercury interview tomorrow. Fabulous interview. And don't forget to subscribe so we can share the truth. We can grow this movement into a global powerhouse of powerful light warriors. And all the links will be below. And don't forget, we've got a fabulous transformation retreat coming up just outside Cape Town. A 3-night retreat. So if you feel like just breathing fresh air, being immersed in nature, and working or learning techniques to transform the energy in your own body, so you can ride the storm and be the calm in the storm, then please look into that. The link is below so you can find out more. You'll see a lot of links there. We've got a lot of events coming up this month. We have our New Earth Collective Gathering in Joburg on the 2nd of May. So if you're in Joburg, we'd love to have you there and gather as a community so we can co-create this beautiful new future. And there's some fabulous speakers and guests as well, and like-minded light warriors that you can meet. And then we've got 2 one-day retreat or transformation retreats, QIGONG retreats, also coming up on the 1st and the 3rd of May, which is organized by another one of our student teachers in Joburg and Pretoria. What else? So much happening at the moment. I'll be visiting Adam's calendar at the beginning of May as well. I haven't been, and I'm so looking forward to that, to just explore that sacred piece of land, and feel the energy for myself. And yeah, I think it's going to be on fire. I cannot wait. So guys, yeah, that's it for me, and have a fabulous weekend. Much love.